Doamnelor și domnilor, bine v-am regăsit la o nouă ediție a emisiunii Impact Global, aici unde descoperim toate tehnicile și tacticile prin care Federația Rusă încearcă să-și impună autoritatea în țările democratice sau cele în curs de dezvoltare democratică. Continuăm serialul nostru de descoperire a crimelor și a crimelor odioase pe care le-a făcut Federația Rusă de la invazia în Ucraina, anume din 24 februarie 2022. Și astăzi alături de noi este domnul Mihail Brințin, slujitor al unei biserici din Melitopol. Mr. Brințin, good afternoon and thank you very much for this interview and for your time.
Thank you for inviting. I think it's important.
Yeah, we speak here about the atrocities that's made by Russian army during this 4 year of invasion. And my first question is, how did start the Russian invasion of Ukraine? How it's begin for you on 24th of February 2022?
Yeah, in this day, early morning, we heard explosions. We live not far from military airport, and it was a lot of explosions there. We saw it, we hear it, and we understood that it's happened because we were kind of expected something happened, but we didn't expect such full-scale invasion and bombing all Ukrainian cities, because not only Melitopol was bombed, but a lot of cities through all Ukraine. And Melitopol is city 100 kilometers from Crimea, so in that day Russian troops forwarded to Melitopol, and next day our city already was occupied by Russian soldiers.
So, how was your first contact with Russian armies, with Russian soldiers?
Yeah, we saw them just second, third, fourth day. I remember that in first day I checked my family and I went to a church where I'm pastor in order to prepare for missiles, for explosion, for destroying or damaging, and we checked fire system, and we saw Russian soldiers on the street. They drew with military vehicles. I think they were more afraid than we are, and I think it was kind of deception. They were deceived that we are waiting for them and we want to be liberated by them, but they met people who was look at them with strange, what are you doing here, and what of that. Actually, I talked with Russian soldiers somewhere 2 weeks ago when they came to our church, was fully equipped with masks, with weapon, and interrogated me what kind of church you are and what are you doing here. Yeah, they completely didn't understand what evangelical church means, and some of them even first time being at the evangelical church. They saw, they check everything, search everything, and we talked with them. They had a lot of questions, and they say, okay, by now. And then it happens every 2-3 weeks, new group of soldiers came and asked what's going on, what the church you are, where is your decision-making center, what's your story. They said later, summer 2022, FSB agent began to visit us again with covered mask, with fully armored soldiers with them. It was different questions. It was kind of attempts to lean us to their side. and understanding that we are not political organization, we are church, and we used to be independent for any authority or political movement. They weren't agree. They tried to intimidate, to threaten us, and then after 6 months they just took our church.
So while you were in the occupied territories, did you witness crimes committed by Russians against Ukrainians, or did you hear about the crimes?
You see, of course, we've been staying in occupied city for 6 months and try to continue our ministry, try to help people, and we saw a lot, we heard about a lot, but the situation is that I gave testimony as a part of documentation crimes of Russians, and I couldn't say about that a lot, but I saw killing people, I saw shooting people and arresting people, torturing people, imprisonment. My friends, my colleagues, people I know, they've been arrested, and people were robbed, like teachers or political leaders, their property, their business, shops and drugstores, banks, post office was looting, and it happened just in our city. We can testify about that, but not in detail in such interview, of course.
How long you were under occupation in this territory?
Yeah, we decided to stay in occupied territory, and most ministers of churches in Melitopol, they stayed there, but time to time one church was closed, banned, and minister deported, then other churches, and we understand that one day it happened. So for 6 months we stayed in occupied territory and try and help our people. Can you imagine this situation? No political party anymore, no big business groups, only churches stays as a center of authority because people know each other, people know pastors and priests, and people listen to those people and those. And for Russians, it wasn't. It was new that religious leader are leader of society, and of course they try to force us, try to push us on their side. And when they understood that church leaders don't want to play with their game, they try to ban churches and deported ministers.
So, Mr. Britsin, how did you decide to leave your city, Melitopol?
In September 2022, just during worship service, fully armed people broke out to our church, blocked people in sanctuary, and they started fingerprint everybody, check documents, make photos, addresses. They arrested ministers and have interrogation for them. I was interrogated separately, and then they convoyed me and other minister to our houses. They searched our houses, they took documents and laptops and tablets and disks and all the personal things, and they say you need to leave. So it wasn't our decision, actually, we were forced to leave. We call it soft deportation. Hard deportation, when you arrested, it just throw you out through the front line. Soft deportation, when they gave you some time. We were given 2 days in order to collect our things and left Melitopol.
What you allowed to take with you when you leave from Melitopol?
Actually, they took some our belongings, like computers, tablets, documents, personal things, and but we have a really small car, and we need to draw our old mom. She is ill. She was ill, and actually our car was full of her things. So actually, we take a couple suitcase and left. But we were searched because all these checkpoints, Russia checkpoints, in order to leave the city and to leave the territory, you need to go through these checkpoints. In that time, it was possible to go through front line. It was like humanitarian corridor, and you can leave the territory. So we went through all these checkpoints. We were searched, but as far as we don't have a lot of things, and old mom on the back seats, they don't check everything precisely. But I saw that people was searched, and Russian soldiers took documents, took notebooks, laptops, and some other techniques, some other equipment. So it wasn't allowed. They just forced us to leave, and we were glad that we are alive, and we are now in Ukraine-controlled territory. We live in Ukraine, and we are in Ukraine-controlled territory.
So you served as a pastor in Melitopol for many years, so you likely still have friends, maybe relatives there. What is happening to them now?
Yeah, Russian soldiers seized our church. Now it is Ministry of Culture. They cut cross, they use it for their reason. And we were third church which was taken in Melitopol. Now 15 churches taken by Russians, and they use that building as they need it for police department, for some sports school, for some agitation purposes. As for believers, they have home groups of Bible studying, and it's not allowed, but it's really difficult to control. People just gather together. Russians allow just one church to stay in Melitopol, having their own building, and put all denomination together. And I remember Soviet Union time, when it was just one Protestant church per city, and all denominations all together, in order to make this church weak. As if people have Bible studying at homes, they could be searched. And one woman was sentenced for 4 years just because he prayed about Ukraine on these Bible groups at her home. All leaders or spiritual authorities, they are under pressure, and they forced to be loyal to Russian authorities. There are a lot of restrictions in Russian laws as for religious freedom, as for religious activity. We enjoyed for these 30 years of freedom, and now it's worse version of Soviet Union for all believers.
Mr. Britsin, what it is like to start life over because of the war?
You see, Konstantin, for us, war started not since we were deported. For us, war started not even in 2022. For us, war started in 2014, when Donetsk, Lugansk, and Crimea was occupied. My parents used to live in Donetsk, and I took them from Donetsk in 2016 because they couldn't live in that situation, and they lived through third occupation in Melitopol. First one during Second World War, then 2014, then 2022. So we were kind of prepared to be aware and to do something and to make some plan. We didn't have plans to leave Melitopol, but we understood that we couldn't be, our life couldn't be the same when war started. So when we left Melitopol, we have connection with our people, hundreds and hundreds members of our church, and thousands and thousands people from occupied territory left their home, their homeland, their business, and started from nothing actually. But it wasn't nothing because my family live in Ukraine. I have my sons, my daughter. We have friends here. We have our colleagues. We have our believers who share the same evangelical faith here. They helped a lot. I know people in Moldova who helped us. So it wasn't from zero. It was a lot of changing, a lot of losses, and we start new chapter of our life. And it's difficult, but we have hope in Christ, because I believe in just God, I believe in strong God, and I know that peace once came to our country and Melitopol will be liberated. So we live with this hope, and we help people who became refugees like me, so we know what to do. It's very important. We have a goal and we understand our purpose, to help people to know truth, what happened with Russia aggression, to help people who left their territory and became refugees here in Ukraine and abroad. You know, there's millions of people left Ukraine. As far as you know what to do, it's easy to start to do something and have sense of life while you open your eyes every day. If God gave you this day, He believes in you. Use it.
So, Mr. Mikhail, you speak so lovely about Melitopol. What means this city for you? What remembers you have about this city?
You see, all my life I live in Melitopol. I was born in Donetsk, but early in childhood, my family moved to Melitopol, and we spent all my life. I had school and Commuter Technical School, and then for 33 years I served as a pastor of Evangelical Church, so all Melitopol knows me. We lived there in Soviet Union time, we lived during time of Perestroika, Gorbachev. We lived in early 90s, we changed everything. We saw the prosper Melitopol just before the war because our city authority paid really great attention to Melitopol, built sports equipment and schools, and we serve as a church. I don't have any business, anything. I just have a church, and I still have a church because Russians took our church building, but they couldn't take people who share the same belief. So we still have church. We have online worship services. For instance, 2 days ago, in the day of full-scale invasion, we provide online prayer for all Melitopol citizens through all the world. All those pastors who is well known for Melitopol, who led them in common prayer in the city square. So we still have Melitopol, and it means a lot for me because it's my heart, it's my soul, it's my destiny. And I think God gave me this city not for belongings, but as a responsibility. And I mean not streets and buildings, but people who are still love Melitopol. So it means a lot for me because it's my life.
Mr. Brinzin, what does this Russian word mean to you?
Yeah, just last year I make huge search about religious situation in Russia. I work with Mission Eurasia now as a director of Department of Religious Freedom, and we make these reports, what happened in occupied territory. We made report about Russia, and I explore this idea of Russian world. You know, it's two different words in English, peace and world, the same word in Russian, mir, Ruskii mir. I think it's Russian world, but not Russian peace, because as far as their church bless holy war against Ukraine, it couldn't be holy peace. It's holy war. And I know it's not Ruskii mir, it's not about culture or language. Yeah, it's just ideological project to justify the war, occupation, this aggression, religious cleansing, and this Russian ideology just use Russian Orthodox Church as a weapon against civilization, against freedom, against freedom of conscience to believe as you want. Because if you are not Russian, if you are not Orthodox, you aren't part of the Russian world. And for evangelicals, for Baptist, Pentecostal, for Greek Catholic, it's not their world. So, and I understand that they just use this ideology in order to destroy city, in order to deport people, in order to torture people, in order to make everything like Russia did. So Russian world for churches, it just icon on front and people with guns behind this icon.
Mr. Brinzin, and the ending of our interview, I want to ask you if you have a message for people from Republic of Moldova who believe in this, or who are waiting this Russian word, or who sympathize this Russian word.
First of all, I'd like to thank people from Moldova, because I know how many Ukrainian refugees you accepted and you served. But I want you to be sure, Ruskii mir, it's not peace. Yeah, it's war, occupation, it's fear, it's destroyed churches, it's destroyed life. You can look at Ukraine, the missiles every night, and people killed. Our daughter lives in Kharkiv, our son lives in Zaporizhia, and we know what does it mean. And in my city, we saw what Ruskii mir did for just a city of Ukraine. And if somebody promises you that Russian protection or defense traditional values, you should know the only values in Russia is bringing control, violence, and slavish obedience. They will expect from you. So Moldova is precious. So guard your freedom, guard your identity, and don't invite darkness, which killing people in your own home, in your own country.
Mr. Mihail Brinzin, thank you very much for your time, for this interview. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Doamnelor și domnilor, ați mai urmărit încă o istorie a unei persoane care a fost nevoită să plece din propriul oraș, din propria biserică pe care o iubea atât de mult, doar din cauza că cineva, într-o dimineață de 24 februarie 2022, într-un birou de la Kremlin, a decis că el poate modela sorțile a milioane și milioane de oameni. Nu uitați, istoria trebuie învățată și nici de cum repetată, pentru că orice repetiție în istorie înseamnă crimă, violență, moarte și război. Acesta a fost Impact Plusul de astăzi. La revedere!